Instagram stories are key to deeper connections with your target followers. In today's interview episode, you will learn what to share in stories and why these steps are so important. When you open up stories, you will find 3 key platforms: stories, live, and reels now. I used this Instagram Live platform to interview my guest and tape this episode at the same time. Talk about repurposing. My guest, Michelle from More Life Now, shares how she uses stories to develop conversations and a cool software tip she uses that you may not be aware of. This is part 1 of 2 episodes on stories, and in next week's episode, I give you all the scoop about Reels and why you should be using them. So stay tuned and hang on, because you're going to learn how to connect with your audience. Why is that so important? Listen in. Hey there, it's Ruthie from RuthieGray.mom, and welcome to Instagram Insider Hacks. So easy, your mom can do it. This is the podcast that teaches you how to authentically deliver your message in a non-pushy way. If you want to receive engagement and investment on your Insta time, listen in. And now, here's your host, me, Ruthie Gray. We're going to have a special guest on today, Michelle from More Life Now. She's one of my pro coaching students, and she's going to share with us in just a few minutes how stories have helped her to reach her target audience member or her target follower. So here is the nice thing about going live. The first thing is you can repurpose into IGTV and save it to your feed. And the second thing is, when you have a guest on, then all of their friends are notified that they're live, and all your friends are notified you're live. All right, here comes Michelle. There she is. Hey.
Hey.
Hey, girl. So the reason that I'm all like clumped in here together and kind of looking up at my camera is because I'm trying to do this with a podcast. Michelle is used to my crazy ways and randomness, so, you know.
Always learning.
Right?
Always
learning. All right. Let's talk about you. Tell us about your account, what your message is. Just let's do that first.
Okay. More Life Now. Anybody that follows me will find out quick enough that I follow Jesus. And having more life now because I have him in my life. And that is one of the biggest things. But I like encouraging women. That is one of my top number 1 things, is encouraging women, praying for people. I teach people about natural wellness with essential oils and nutrition, and just trying to teach people how to get the toxic stuff and people out of their life and get the good stuff in.
I love that. And, you know, also the undertone I feel like with you, Michelle, is that you can have more life right now, no matter what your circumstances are, because it's never going to be perfect, right?
Exactly, because I'm going to share something being very vulnerable here right now. My husband got laid off his job at the end of June, but we're not going to dwell on any negative. We're not going to worry about it because we know that God has a plan and we're going to walk it out. So
He sure does. He has a plan. And we have been praying for you, Michelle. So if you're here listening, please pray along with us for Michelle and her husband for his job.
Thank you.
All right. So let's talk about stories a little bit, Michelle. So when you first started using stories, did you know what you were doing? What were you experimenting with?
Well, I was nervous at first because I thought, what if I mess up? And then it was, forget it. Who cares? You mess up, everybody messes up. So I used to just share graphics. I would share positive, encouraging words and things like that. And that was it. I didn't understand hashtags. I didn't understand stickers. And then I met the lovely Ruthie Gray. and my life changed.
Yeah. And you said something there, though, you do have to start somewhere. You just start because you don't really know what you're doing in the first place on stories. So then you met me. And so what was the first thing you did with me?
So taking the Instagram hacks class. Okay. So that was one of the things. But watching you is actually the way that I learn. I'm always remembering that I forget to do a call to action. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm working on right now in stories is that, and of course, placing stickers in there, but always making sure I do the call to action. And if I place a couple of stickers and I don't want people to see them, I find a pretty flower sticker to place over it. Yet it will put people there. So there's a lot of great tips that Ruthie shares in her teaching.
In the free 7-day Instagram story challenge. That's what she's talking about. So yes, we started interacting in stories and that was fun. And what have you kind of hit your mojo, like what you like to do in stories or what you are sharing on a regular basis? How are you using stories?
I'm using to do lives, but I'm also creating the stories and I put those in my highlights of things that I want people to be able to go and look and learn from, like about essential oils, but also like inspiring things. Sometimes I just jump on for a minute or so to create a story just to encourage people. So I put it down in highlights in inspiration. So because we all can use a little inspiration.
That's right. So I always say for stories, make sure that your stories are educating, encouraging, or entertaining. One of the three. And I think you do a good mix of that, Michelle. And you said something very key there, sharing in stories and then to highlights, because some of you may not know this, but you can only get your stuff in highlights if you share it to stories first.
Right.
So I did a little bit of tough love on the podcast, Instagram Insider Hacks So Easy Your Mom Can Do It, on episode 11, talking about don't keep talking about your product all the time, or you just deaden your audience and you repel them. And so what you want to do is kind of educate them about the product, but also just educate them in general on topics surrounding your product. So you do that in stories, right?
Yes. That is something, learning how to teach people, whether they buy my product or not, there are ways they can get toxic stuff out of their home and replace it right away, whether they buy my product or not. And I encourage people to do that. I like teaching people, and whether they're already using my product, I still like to help them and teach them, because the more you teach other people, the more you're going to learn too, because they're going to ask questions.
That's right. Value. That's what you want to deliver in your content and especially in your stories. So what are some fun things you've done with stories lately, Michelle?
Well, I've tried Reels, but I didn't really. I've got to play around with that one. So, but I'm not afraid.
Okay.
Doing questions, asking questions, yes or no questions, or now I'm playing with Canva, and they have a whole selection of questions and things you can actually to ask people. It's making it much simpler. So asking people about them and learning about who's actually following me and what their needs are.
Yes, that's how you connect with your avatar, your target follower, by asking lots of questions about them and getting to know them. It's about them, really not about us. So I like the tip you gave, though, about Canva. So you're saying, and I use Canva too, but I haven't looked into their story templates that much. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, I have to confess, I played around 3 hours last night looking at all of it. There's so much there, so simple. Today I shared in my stories 5 things I'm thankful for. That template was in there. So I just put the 5 things I was thankful for and shared a blank one so other people could post what they want to post.
That's great. I love that. And a lot of times we just need some inspiration. We don't know what questions to ask. We just need a little bit of help there to just jar our brains. So I'm so glad that you shared that tip. That's a great tip because we need to use stories to leverage and develop relationships. So have you found that you are getting some regular DMs through the use of stories?
Yes, there are people that I have that some people, they must have me tagged, and I just want to shout out and thank them for that because they're constantly replying to my stories and sending emojis and all the things. And I go back and I check out what their story says, because the more followers you get, it is harder to keep track of people. So I try to keep track of the people who are keeping track of me.
Yes. So what people might not realize is that when people watch your stories, then your story pops up right beside your story circle, right beside their profile. So they're being reminded, oh, I watched Michelle's story. So you want to stay closer to their profile. That really does you a big service too.
Yeah, I've been including my stories lately so that it's scattered throughout the day. So they see, oh, another story instead of just one a day.
Yes, that is another great point and something that I try to do it too. It's better instead of like doing 25 frames right at the top of the day where people might just tune out if they're all a lot alike and they're all you talking or whatever. It's better to spread them throughout the day, like twice or even 3 times a day if you can. And just sharing life. What are some life scenarios that you share in stories, Michelle?
Well, we live in an RV, so that's why it looks like I'm in an RV bathroom.
That's fine.
Sometimes this is my office. No, but anyway, obviously, maybe it is. So this is where I do a lot of videos. If you see me in here, this is the background. I'm in the bathroom doing a video. But we got rid of all our stuff last year. We live 100% in our RV. So, and we're empty nesters like you. And you have an RV. Just got a new one.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah. So and we have grandkids and all those kind of things. So those are the kind of people that usually relate to me. And there's some younger ones that like to learn from where I've been.
And that's why it's so important to be real in your stories, to share. You don't have it all together because people don't want to follow people that have it all together. People, they relate to real, don't they?
Right. And that's why I like to jump in stories. I'm purposely trying to come in at least once a day in stories, talking, just so people know, hey, I'm a real person. I'm not just sharing these things. And maybe to encourage other people to not be afraid and do it.
So have you found that you've made some connections and some clients through your stories?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. There's people who may never see my feed as much as the people who are going in my stories, and we connect through stories, and then we start direct messaging. And yes, that is definitely one of the ways it's more intimate, I guess is the word. Personal.
That's exactly it. That's it. It's stories make you more personable to people, and you develop that know, like, and trust factor with them through the stories. And then you're generating the conversations about them. And then they start saying, well, I really like Michelle. She lives in an RV. She's an empty nester like me. Maybe there really is something to this essential oils thing she's doing. And since I like her and I have got to know her already, I may as well ask her. And that's the beauty of it, right?
Right.
Amen. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming and spending time with us today, Michelle.
I'm so glad to be here. And I really want to encourage anyone who has never done a live to just do it. Done is better than perfect. I used to be so scared to talk in front of people. And now when I look where I came from to here, it makes me cry. So yeah, don't want to start crying. But,
well, and the more we do it, the better we get at it. We just got to start
here every time.
That's right. Okay. Well, thanks for being on, girl.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Isn't Michelle delightful? Be sure to go look her up on Instagram and follow her RV adventures and all the other little exciting things she does in her empty nest life now. Now, if you have enjoyed this podcast, I would so love it if you would go hit the 5-star rating and maybe even leave a review. That would be awesome. And once you do that, and it finally pops up on iTunes, because it takes a couple hours, would you please screenshot that, share it to stories, and tag me? Then I will reshare and tag you. And the love goes round and round. Thank you so much again for listening to Instagram Insider Hacks. I so enjoy bringing this to you every week. Make sure to stay tuned for next week's episode, all about Reels. You're going to love it. See you soon.